Welcome back to Up North at 4. Joining us now, it's Captain Dick Osborne and John Helminiak with the Tunison Foundation, and they are in the area for Airport Day in Land O'Lakes. It's happening this weekend, but the main attraction of Airport Day is the Placid Lassie, which I love saying.
He's been saying it all day in the newsroom.
It's maybe my favorite name of an aircraft I've ever heard before. But the Placid Lassie, it is a C-47 from World War II, and this thing has quite the story. John, I believe the term you used before the show was it has lived many lives.
It has lived many, many lives. And first, we'd like to thank the Land O'Lakes Historical Society and also King's Land O'Lakes Airport, because without their sponsorship, Placid Lassie would not be returning for year two to Airport Days in Land O'Lakes, Wisconsin. And it is indeed a historic aircraft. What is a C-47? A C-47 was a military version of a very popular Douglas DC-3 aircraft. Placid Lassie, which was named Placid Lassie by its World War II wartime crew, came off the Long Beach Douglas Assembly Plant in 1943 and was immediately pressed into service in World War II and flew a lot of battles, including Operation Market Garden, made famous by the movie A Bridge Too Far, the Battle of the Bulge, and also towed gliders on the Normandy D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. So we're very pleased to have her back. Last weekend, she was at the Duluth Air Show. Captain Osborne, my friend Dick, flew her in on Sunday, I believe. Yes. And she's patiently waiting now for the visitors to come, tour the airplane, and actually put their hands on the same yokes that those young men held onto when they were flying their various missions during World War II, including the Normandy invasion.
It's such a rich history. It gives you goosebumps thinking about you can sit in that seat and go through, what they experienced so many years ago. All right, Captain Dick, I have to know as a pilot.
Okay.
Is he fun to fly?
You bet it is.
Tell me about it.
It's particularly fun to fly the C-47. The control feedback, the sounds, flying in that cockpit with the sliding window open, and preferably in the summertime.
Yes.
And I've heard that people can actually smoke a cigar in that cockpit. The smoke goes right out, no problem.
I'm
nice
sure
and
many
clean.
have been smoked in that cockpit before.
I have. But it's a wonderful old airplane, and the history is even more significant when you realize the DC-3 was really the first successfully commercial airplane built literally in the world.
It was the first.
And then turned into the military platform, which is really adapted so perfectly to the job.
Yeah,
It's
that was a
amazing.
plane that many people couldn't fly on because it was too expensive to do so. It was all first class, right? For many, many years there.
No, all classes were. There was no first class. It was just
all one, right? But it was very high end to fly back in those days.
But
right?
one of the reasons having this C-47 in the Land O'Lakes is equally as historic, in addition to the war history, is that North Central Airlines back in the 50s and 60s flew the DC-3 into Land O'Lakes as part of their regularly scheduled commercial airline service. Land O'Lakes was the smallest town in the nation served by a commercial airline for about a decade.
And it was originally a grass field before paved.
So in a way,
it's really neat.
This is like a
homecoming?
Homecoming?
Well,
it is.
Last year, when the Placid Lassie touched down for the first time, we think that it was the first time a C-47 or a DC-3 had been to Land O'Lakes since the last North Central Airlines flight in 1965. So that was really historic.
Yeah. Wow. You see how we get excited about this stuff? Like, aviation is like in our blood. It's crazy.
It really is.
Well, if I can intercede, one of the first DC-3s I had the opportunity to fly in, the airplane, had actually been a former North Central airplane that had been bought by an operator in Miami, Florida, where I lived, and I was the co-pilot on that airplane.
Do we know how many are still operational?
I'm only guessing. Hard to tell these days, maybe 150.
So it's a dwindling number for sure. And obviously bringing it to Land O'Lakes is a big deal for many people. And I want to talk more about this, but we're going to take a quick break here, gentlemen. So stick with us. We'll be right back on Up North at 4.
I need a break. This is really tough.
Good
Back to Up North at 4. We are joined by Captain Dick Osborne and John Helminiak, getting ready for Land O'Lakes Airport Days coming up this weekend. But the main attraction for the second year in a row is the Placid Lassie. Sorry, Placid Lassie. You got to say it.
All day.
I don't know what accent it is, but it just comes out of me that way. But it is a World War II era C-47, and this thing has such a cool history. And I know, John, I bet you are just excited for people to come out this weekend, check out the plane, see the plane, be inside of the plane. For you, what's it like when people come by and they see this thing? And maybe it's the first World War II era plane they've ever seen before. I'm sure that just blows a lot of people away. What's that like for you?
I have two answers to that, Nate. A, it's exceptionally rewarding, particularly when a veteran comes up to the aircraft, because this C-47 has a long service history, starting with World War II through Korea and even into Vietnam. And a lot of Vietnam veterans, unfortunately, we're losing our World War II veterans, will come and say, I remember this airplane. I jumped out of this airplane. I was transported into this airplane. And they become very emotional because it takes them back to a part of their lives which was dangerous, tumultuous, but yet very bonding with other members of the military fraternity. And then young children as well, because young kids these days really don't have an idea of the history of World War II and the sacrifices that Americans and Allies made to liberate Asia and also liberate Europe from the Nazis. So to educate them about what this airplane did and what it meant for freedom across the world is really important to us, because that message is not always being taught in schools anymore.
Yeah, all right, Captain Dick. So lots of parents are listening and watching, wondering if they bring their kids out to experience, this plane. And they can touch it, they can get inside of it. What can they experience inside the plane?
Well, let's put them in the captain's seat and put a headset on them and get a good photo so they can grow up and maybe want to fly an airplane.
Okay, once in a lifetime opportunity here. Like, this isn't right. Yes.
And we really enjoy sharing this history, exposing the airplane to them, and really telling them, all the crew, how much fun it is to fly airplanes. I'm not going to tell you I'll do it for nothing, because the last time I did, they cut my pay. So, but we really enjoy flying.
I paid more for flight school than I did for college. It's
a little costly.
It's pricey.
It's a little costly.
We love flying airplanes. We really do. And this is an exceptional airplane to fly.
And I can just see your passion for flying. And Jeff as well. It's like really coming out.
It's a thing. It really is.
Right now, it's really interesting to see you guys just come alive. And Captain Dick, you mentioned before, flying the Placid Lassie, it's different than anything you've ever flown before. What's that experience like? Like, what do you feel when you sit in that pilot's chair and you grip the controls and you're in the air? Can you even describe what that
first of all, is it going to start?
That's a fair question. That's a fair question.
At 81 years old, not me, but the airplane.
It's seen some better
every
days.
once in a while, it's in very good condition.
Really?
But, it's got an attitude sometime.
Change it.
And it's dealing with it and also helping it along, and it really doesn't need too much help. Once the engines are started and you hear and feel the vibration of the airplane the way it is, the sound, just taxiing the airplane, it takes control. It makes a pilot so proud and so happy to learn to make that big piece of machinery respond. Most of us that are flying that airplane in the left seat have flown everything right on up to the biggest jumbos. I have. And a lot smaller airplanes too. And the DC-3 is a quintessential history of aviation. It's an airplane. You just look at it on the ramp and say, that's the way an airplane's supposed to look. And it's the way it's supposed to fly too. And we love it. We really do.
When you're inside it, you feel history. And there aren't many airplanes of the World War II vintage that you can actually walk into. They're World War II fighters, but they're single-seat cockpits, or World War II bombers that are very awkward to walk through on small gangplanks. But this is a transport, so you can go inside and get into the cockpit. And I think for many of us, we not only think of the present and sharing it with people now, but the young men who were in that.
Absolutely.
Going into combat at age 19, 20, or 21.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It is really heavy.
Yeah.
And I love talking to you guys. And seriously, go check it out this weekend, the Placid Lassie in Land O'Lakes. Gentlemen, it's been a blast. We're going to take a break. Buffy's up next on Up.
Hope to see you there.
Yeah, of course.